Hey YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. I decided that I wanted to make a short series about this whole homeowner, home buying process. I think it would be interesting. Lots of people have asked me about it, and so I figured why not make a specific series on my YouTube channel for it. Quick disclaimer, I'm going to be doing this series in English because I know that most of my audience on YouTube is bilingual, and so I'm just gonna recount my experiences in the language that I'm most comfortable in, which is my native one. With that disclaimer out of the way, I did want to talk today about a point that has come up, it keeps coming up, and I guess I'm just gonna have to learn to live with it within this home buying process. And it's the fact that since I'm a woman, I'm buying this house alone. It's not an investment that me and my longtime boyfriend are going into together. That's strange, and people don't get it. And aside from not getting it, despite the fact that I've made it clear time and time again that, you know, I won the house, it's gonna be my house, people just continue to assume and say that we bought it together. At the end of the day, it's not this huge issue, but I thought it was something that is interesting to look at, analyze, and talk about, because I believe that more and more women should be doing what I'm doing, which is making their own investments apart from their family, apart from their mothers, their fathers, their boyfriends, their husbands, because at the end of the day, we don't live in a world that really puts us first. So we have to put ourselves first sometimes. I don't remember how much of this I told, but initially I had planned to go into buying the house with my dad. My dad was supposed to help me with the down payment, and it was supposed to be kind of a father-daughter thing. But I realized pretty quickly something that I've always said in life, and I truly believe to be true, is that you don't go into business/investments with family. You just don't. It never works out. And I saw the early signs of that not being something that was going to work out from the very beginning. And despite the fact that I wasn't going to have help from my parents, specifically my dad, I still wanted to buy a house. I had already gotten into doing all of the research. I was already looking at houses. I was already talking to banks. And just because my dad wasn't going to be able to help me with the money, I didn't want to exclude the idea of buying my own investment property. Notice that I'm using the word investment property more than I'm using the word house, because the fact that I studied economics, I guess, causes me to think of everything, every decision that I make in my life in the short term and in the long term. And while in the very short term, I'm talking in the next 2 to 3 years, me and my boyfriend will be living inside the house, my long-term goal for the house is for it to become an investment property that I rent out, not a house for us to live in. It's not a family home. It's not big enough to be a family home, and that's just that. It's kind of my thing that I don't go into business, I don't go into money-making endeavors with family or friends. It's just my policy. I wanted to do it by myself. As you guys saw in my video about winning the house at auction, I won the house, and now we're starting the whole process, to finalize everything. Like I said, people keep talking about the fact that I bought a house with my boyfriend. Where did you and Enrico buy the house? How is that working? We didn't buy anything. I bought it. And I know that while the intent of this question isn't rooted in sexism, you wouldn't ask this question to a guy. I know it because I saw it. One of the reasons that I decided to look into the auction route is because a relative of Enrico recently won his first house at an auction as well. He is around my age, like me. He has, a normal determinato contract. He's been dating his girlfriend for a while, and what had happened was he bought his house, fixed up his house, and then him and his girlfriend now live in the house. I don't know how they're splitting the bills. It's not my business, but the point is, it's his house in his name, and the girlfriend lives there. Nobody in our circle ever asked him, especially not in front of me. I never thought to ask him, so did you buy the house with your significant other's name? It just wasn't a thing that came to my mind. Yet this is a question that keeps on being asked, keeps on being asked, keeps on being asked, and assumptions keep on being made in my situation. And the only thing different between me and this guy is that he's a guy. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to assume it is that. While yes, it is true that it's not super heard of for young people to buy property in Italy, and it's even less heard of for young people to buy property alone, even less heard of for a young foreign woman to buy property alone. I just feel like me buying the property with my significant other was the least logical thing to do from an economic perspective. It would have made no sense to buy the house with Enrico, and I'm going to tell you why. And then I'm going to get to my point as to why I think more women should make more solo investments. First thing, me and Enrico have been together for 6 years. In those 6 years, he studied for 6 years. He graduated in December and started working in June. I bought the house in February, just for reference. Me, on the other hand, I studied for 3 years and I worked full-time 2 jobs for 3 years. So I was in the financial position to make an investment of that type, whereas he wasn't. I mean, that's just fact. I had the money, he didn't. It is what it is. The second and third reasoning actually is the fact that we don't live in a gender equal world. We just don't. We're trying to get there, but the fact of the matter is right now, and I believe in the short term, it will remain this way, we are not the same. So first there's the aspect of children. Me and Enrico are at the point where we're talking about marriage, where we're talking about children. I would like to have children within the next 5 years. And what does that mean for my career? It means that my career is at best going to be put on pause. And once it's not put on pause anymore, I essentially have to make a choice between continuing on the corporate entrepreneurial route and not spending as much time with my children as I might want, or spending more time with my children and taking a huge pay cut because I'm not working the normal corporate entrepreneur job. The way that the workforce and the corporate environment is set up structurally just does not complement motherhood. And we can try to run around the conversation as much as we want. That's just a fact. At the end of the day, you do end up having to choose more of a career or more involvement in your children's lives. It just is the way it is. And so, knowing this, I've more or less already decided that I'd like to spend more time with my children. I don't honestly like working. Really, who does? While I'm accomplishing a lot, and I'm very proud of everything I'm accomplishing, and I still have lots that I want to accomplish, I do have it in my mind that I would like to be basically retired by the age of 40. And by retired, I mean to have enough savings and passive investments so that I don't have to work. Like, I probably will, because knowing myself, I would get bored otherwise. But I don't want it that if we miss a paycheck, if we miss a couple months of working, we can't afford our lifestyle. I want my lifestyle to be basically affording itself without me having to work by the time that I'm 40. And I should almost be there by the time that I'm 30 and starting to have kids. How can I do that? The only way to do that is to make as much money as possible, save as much money as possible, and invest it in various securities. That might be investing it on the stock market. That might be investing it in real estate. That might be investing it in individual companies. There are so many investments that you can do. But the point is, you need to invest your money into investments that will give you a passive income at some point in your life so that that passive income can replace your salary. So this was the first reason, my first logic, the fact that I know that as a woman that would like to have children, my career path isn't going to be the same as my husband / boyfriend / partner, whatever you want to call it, career's path. He has so much more time where he can earn and save and make investments, and we can make investments together. There are choices for him. But for me right now, my time frame to make my investments and to protect myself individually is limited to the time before I have kids. That's the way I see it. If you want to argue that, feel free in the comment section down below. But that was my thought process. I wanted it so that, by the time I'm in maternity leave, this little Milan apartment will be rented out, making me at least 1,000 euros a month in rent. And I'm good. I don't have to worry about the fact that, oh my gosh, maternity leave is going to expire, and oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go back into the office after all this maternity leave, and maybe I'll get left behind, maybe they'll demote me, maybe they'll make me redundant. Like, I wouldn't have to worry about all the things that women have to worry about when it comes to maternity leave and having kids. Already thinking ahead. Maternity leave was the first half of the gender inequality, but the second half of the gender inequality is the fact that, all right, yeah, I'm a young girl that is doing a lot of entrepreneurial stuff right now, are any of these entrepreneurial endeavors long term? I have no idea. How long will social media be around? How long will I be able to be an influencer? I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure it's not forever. It's not a long time. Meanwhile, my boyfriend is a chemical engineer. Like, his earning potential is extremely high, and he's going to be able to do it for a very long time. We are not the same in terms of earning potential. I'm pretty sure he will out-earn me at some point in our young adult lives, and he can do it for longer. That's another fact, which is another reason why I need this investment more than he does as a woman. And this is why I feel like more women should get out of the mindset of going into things with their partners. Because why? Why would you do that? The only reasoning I can think of doing it is, okay, economically speaking, you'd have a helping hand in terms of, the cost. The initial cost of buying a house is quite expensive, and so fine, fair enough. But the only other driving force I would think of is that it's sentimental. It's like, oh, it's a partnership, and so we should be doing everything together. Yeah, but I just don't see that working out in the women's favor most of the time, because then, say me and Enrico were to break up. I mean, hope it doesn't happen. I don't think it'll happen, but it happens to lots of people quite often, and so you can't exclude the possibility. If we break up, then what? What do I have here in Italy for myself? Nothing. He has generational wealth. There are multiple assets floating around in the family that him and his siblings and cousins will have no problem splitting. In addition, he has this career. In addition, he has his degrees. Like, it's kind of crazy, but this is exactly what we're talking about when we talk about privilege. It's the fact that even me having a 3-year head start where I was working 2 jobs and not one, I'm still playing catch up to my boyfriend. I'm still trying to catch up to the part where my boyfriend is starting from. That's privilege. And self-awareness is knowing when you guys are not the same and when you have to just do some things for yourself. I'm a firm believer in when it comes to relationships, both of the people should be, this is in an ideal world, whole. I do feel like relationships work out when they're not codependent in the wrong ways. I had no intention of my partner being a financial weight on me. Growing up in poverty, I'm not going back to poverty. I'm never looking back at that shit. And I didn't want to be with a man that was not financially solvent. On the other hand, I don't want to depend on him financially either. I don't want to be a financial weight on him. I think that's one of the things that puts women in such dangerous situations when it comes to relationships, actually, when they're too dependent on their partner. In this way, I'm 100% independent, I'm 100% protected, I have my own assets, I have my own things, and my partner is a compliment to me, and I'm a compliment to him. Oh yeah, and also the fact that, I feel like when a lot of people talk about buying houses with their partners, they're looking at it as a sentimental purchase, which is perfectly fine. Go for it. If you have the money and you want to buy a house because you want to buy a house, you want a nice place to live in, you want a spacious backyard, you want all of these things in a house that's going to be yours and your partner's, then go for it. But as I've already said, this particular purchase wasn't a sentimental purchase for me. This particular purchase was an investment that I intend to make money off of in the future. In the future, will me and Enrico buy a house together as more of a sentimental purchase, as a nice big house to raise our family? Yeah, I don't really think it's going to be in Milan. I don't see that being super feasible. I don't even know if it's going to be in Italy, if I'm being honest. And I don't really see a huge house being an investment, because in this world, with these economic times, how easy is it going to be to resell? How easy is it going to be to rent out? Like, these are the questions you have to ask yourself in terms of an investment. So down the road, could me and Enrico buy a house together in terms of sentimental reasoning? Yes, absolutely. But this wasn't that. This was something different. And I want more women to be thinking in this way and not the old way. I know that what I'm saying might be seen as controversial to some people, but honestly speaking, it's the most logical. And I think that we need to stop pushing this idea that young couples, especially young unmarried couples, need to go into financial investments together. It's just not smart. I think that's my TED Talk. I think that I've said everything that I wanted to say. Feel free to start a discussion in the comment section down below. I'm really interested to know what you guys think on this, because like I said, I've kind of had this conversation a little bit on Instagram before with mixed reception. Like some people are like, yeah, Tia, go you did the right thing. And then there are other people that are like, no, I absolutely don't agree. I can't remember the reasoning because to me it just made no sense. But I'm open to see some good supported arguments and discussions if you disagree with what I've set forth in this video. So yeah, this video is already getting too long, but you guys know the deal. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next one.